Commander Lisa Wright looked out the viewport of the EAS Dauntless as stars streaked by. The diplomatic mission to the Orion sector had gone well. Now they were heading home to Earth with good news about the new trade agreement. Lisa checked. The time. Only 8 more hours until they reached the jump gate. "Commander, I'm picking up strange energy readings," said Steve Johnson from his communication station. His fingers moved quickly across the glowing display. "It's not matching any known signature in our database." Lisa frowned. This region was supposed to be safe. Yellow alert. "Alan, how are our shields?" Engineer Alan Peters shook his head. "At 80%. We had to divert power for the diplomatic equipment, remember?" Before Lisa could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Red warning lights flashed across every console. Multiple vessels. "Decloaking," shouted Doug Wilson from security. "Configuration unknown." The view screen filled with the image of sleek, metallic ships that seemed to shimmer slightly, as if not quite solid. Their hulls were covered in glowing blue lines that pulsed in complex patterns. "Shields failing," Alan called out. "They're using some kind of phase technology that's bypassing our defenses." Medical officer Karen Miller steadied herself against a wall as another blast rocked the ship. "Who are they?" Cultural specialist Maria Rodriguez's eyes widened with recognition as she studied the ships. "Cracks, they match the descriptions in the Xenology database. They're supposed to be just a rumor." "Open a channel," Lisa ordered. "This is Commander Lisa Wright of the Earth Alliance ship Dauntless. We are on a peaceful mission and request." The ship went dark. All systems shut down at once. In the eerie silence, a strange humming filled the air. Blue light began to seep through the walls, forming into a thick mist that swirled around the bridge crew. "Don't breathe it in," Karen warned, but it was too late. The mist seemed drawn to them, wrapping around each person. Lisa felt her consciousness slipping away as the blue particles covered her skin. Lisa woke up feeling cold. She was lying on a hard metal surface that seemed to vibrate slightly. When she opened her eyes, she saw a curved ceiling made of some transparent material. Beyond it was the swirling energy of what looked like a neutron star. "She's awake," said Doug's voice nearby. Lisa sat up slowly, fighting off dizziness. 5 crew members were all there, sitting in what appeared to be a large cell. The walls glowed with faint purple light, and there were no visible doors. "Where are we?" Lisa asked. "Some kind of prison," Steve replied. "They took our equipment, but left us our uniforms." Maria pointed to a window-like section of wall. "Look, beyond the transparent section was a corridor where strange beings moved about. They were tall and thin, with 4 arms and skin that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Their heads were triangular with 3 large black eyes positioned in a triangle pattern." "Cracks," Maria whispered. "An advanced species that most people think is just a myth. They're supposed to be incredibly intelligent but don't interact much with other species. They see most other life forms as primitive." One of the cracks noticed them watching and approached the window. It pressed something on a panel, and suddenly, they could hear its voice translated into English with an odd metallic quality. "The specimens are conscious. Inform Warden Zektal." A few minutes later, a larger cracks appeared. Its skin shifted between deeper shades of blue and purple, and it wore some kind of metal device around its neck. "I am Warden Zektal," it said. "You are now prisoners at Helixis 9, the most secure detention facility in the known galaxy." Lisa stepped forward. "We demand to know the charges against us. We are representatives of Earth on a peaceful mission." The warden's skin rippled in what might have been amusement. "There are no charges. You are specimens for study. Your species has been designated as an unpredictable threat to galactic stability." "That's ridiculous," Karen protested. "Humans have established peaceful relations with 12 different species." "Precisely the issue," Zekatal replied. "Your rapid advancement and integration are concerning. Most species take centuries to achieve what yours has done in decades. The Cracks Directorate has determined that humans represent an unacceptable variable in our models of galactic development." Alan stepped forward. "So what happens to us now?" "You will remain here for observation and analysis," said the warden. "Your unusual neural patterns and decision-making processes are of particular interest. We have never studied humans in a controlled environment before. Doug crossed his arms. And the rest of our crew? They are being held elsewhere. You six were selected as a representative sample based on your varied specializations. The warden moved closer to the transparent wall. I should inform you that escape is impossible. In the 3,000 years this facility has existed, no prisoner has ever escaped Helixis 9. The warden gestured around them. The cells are quantum locked, meaning the molecular structure of the walls can only be altered by authorized cracks operators. The entire facility is surrounded by the gravity well of a neutron star. Even if you somehow left your cell, there is nowhere to go. Lisa stared back at the alien. How long do you plan to keep us here? Until we complete our study. Perhaps 10 of your Earth years. Perhaps longer. The warden's skin shifted to a lighter shade. I understand this news may cause emotional distress. Your species is known for strong emotional responses. We will be monitoring how you process this information. Maria stepped forward. You've clearly studied humans enough to know that keeping us prisoner without cause goes against all interspecies rights agreements. Such agreements only apply to species the Cracks Directorate recognizes as equal partners in galactic governance, Zikatal replied. Humans have not reached this status. The warden touched another control. You will remain together in this observation chamber for 24 hours. This allows us to study your group dynamics when processing new circumstances. After that, you will be moved to individual cells for more specific testing. As the warden turned to leave, it added, most new arrivals take weeks to accept their fate. I am curious to see how long it takes humans. When the alien was gone, Lisa gathered everyone in a tight circle. 24 hours, she whispered. That's all we have before they separate us. Karen looked worried. What can we possibly do in that time? Did you hear what he said about this place? Lisa's eyes narrowed with determination. I heard that no one has ever escaped before. But then again, they've never had humans here before. You can't be serious, Alan said. We're orbiting a neutron star in a cell that can't be opened. Lisa smiled slightly. Every prison has weaknesses. The Cracks think they know humans, but they've only studied us from a distance. They don't understand what we're truly capable of when backed into a corner. She looked at each of her crew members. We have different skills, and we have 24 hours. Let's show these aliens why humans have a reputation for doing the impossible. Steve grinned. They think we're unpredictable. Let's prove them right. As the purple light of the cell walls pulsed around them, the 6 humans formed a circle and began to plan. The 6 humans sat in a tight circle in the center of their cell, speaking in whispers. Lisa had organized them into a team with a clear mission: find a way out of Helixis 9 within 24 hours. First, we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with, Lisa said. Everyone, share what you've noticed about this place. Karen went first, her medical training giving her a sharp eye for details. I've been watching the Cracks guards. Their eyes seem very sensitive to light. When they pass by the brighter sections of the corridor, they blink rapidly and their skin changes color slightly. Good observation, Lisa said. Steve, what about you? Steve, who had been sitting closest to the transparent wall, nodded. Their translation system has flaws. When the warden was speaking, I noticed a delay of about half a second. That suggests they're using a real-time processing system rather than a pre-programmed one. Alan looked up from where he had been examining the wall. The energy conduits running through this cell remind me of Earth's quantum computing architecture. They're using entangled particles to maintain the lock, but the system needs constant adjustment. That's not normal for a stable quantum system. They're compensating for something, Doug added, his security background making him alert to weaknesses. And have you noticed the guards never look directly at us for very long? It's like they find something about us disturbing. Maria had been observing. The other prisoners, they could see through their transparent wall. There are at least 5 other species being held here. Those crystal beings in the cell across from us, they communicate through light patterns. I've been watching them. I think they're trying to signal us. Lisa took in all this information, her mind working quickly. So we have sensitive eyes, a flawed translation system, an unstable quantum lock, guards who seem uncomfortable with us, and possible allies. This is a good start. But how does this help us escape? Alan asked. We still can't open the cell, and even if we could, we're orbiting a neutron star. One step at a time, Lisa replied. Doug, what else have you noticed about the quantum locks? Doug frowned in concentration. They seem to be calibrated for beings who perceive time in a strictly linear way. I remember reading a study that showed human brains actually process time differently than many other species. We can conceptualize non-linear time more easily. That's it. Alan snapped his fingers. The quantum fluctuations, they might be stronger around us because of how human consciousness interacts with quantum states. The observer effect works differently with humans. Lisa smiled. So their perfect prison wasn't designed with humans in mind. What else might they have overlooked? For the next several hours, they carefully tested their theories. Karen examined their prison uniforms and discovered the fabric had unusual properties. It seemed designed to resist static electricity. I could modify these to amplify light instead of resisting it, Alan said, taking a piece of fabric Karen had pulled loose. If the cracks are sensitive to light, we could use that. Steve had been listening carefully to the guards' communications. They use different frequencies for different security zones. If I could access their system, I might be able to send contradictory commands. Maria continued watching the crystalline beings across the corridor. I think I'm starting to understand their light signals. They're prisoners too, but they've been here longer. They might know things about this place that we don't. 6 hours had passed since the warden left them. Lisa gathered everyone again. We need to work faster. Alan, can you build something that could affect the quantum lock using what we have here? Alan looked around the cell. Maybe. The food delivery system has some components I could use. If Doug is right about human consciousness affecting quantum states, I might be able to build a device that amplifies that effect. Good. Steve, can you find a way to communicate with those crystal beings Maria's been watching? Steve nodded. If Alan can modify our uniform fabric to manipulate light, I can create basic patterns to signal them. Perfect. Karen, I need you to figure out exactly which light frequencies bother the cracks the most. Karen nodded. I'll keep observing them when they pass by. Doug, you and I will work on a route to the hangar bay. We need to know exactly where to go once we're out of this cell. Doug looked surprised. How will we know where the hangar is? Lisa pointed to a pattern in the guard movements. See how they all go through that corridor at regular intervals? And there's a subtle change in the gravity when they do. I think that corridor leads to an elevator or transport system. As they worked, Lisa noticed something strange about their cell. The air circulation changes every 40 minutes. I think they're running tests on us without telling us. Karen agreed. They're probably monitoring our stress levels, seeing how we respond to confinement. Then let's give them something unexpected to observe, Lisa said with a small smile. By hour 12, they had made significant progress. Alan had dismantled part of his uniform and the food dispensing system, creating what he called a probability lens, a crude device that might focus human perception to affect quantum states. Karen had determined that bright blue light at a specific frequency caused the cracks guards the most discomfort. Steve and Maria had established basic communication with the crystalline beings, who called themselves the Volari. Through simple light patterns, they learned that the Volari had been prisoners for over a year and were also looking for a way out. They can generate intense light pulses, Maria explained. If we could coordinate with them, they could create a facility-wide distraction. As hour 16 approached, Lisa called another meeting. Here's the plan. The Volari will create a light-based disruption that will temporarily blind the cracks guards. When that happens, Alan will use his probability lens to try to destabilize the quantum lock. If that works, Steve added, I figured out how to send contradictory commands through their communication system, which should create confusion in different sectors. Meanwhile, Doug continued, once we're out, we'll have approximately 3 minutes to reach the hangar bay before they lock down the whole facility. I've mapped out a route based on the guard patterns. What about the neutron star? Karen asked. Even if we get a ship, how do we escape the gravity well? Lisa looked
At Alan. That's where you come in.
From what we've observed, their ships use some kind of gravity manipulation technology. If we can get to one, can you figure out how to fly it? Alan hesitated, then nodded. I think so. Their systems seem logical, just different from ours. With Steve's help, I should be able to interface with their technology. Maria looked worried. And what about the Volari? We can't leave them behind. We won't, Lisa assured her. They're coming with us. That's part of our deal with them. As they finalized their plan, a new Cracks guard approached their cell. This one was smaller than the others, with skin that shifted between green and yellow. The warden wishes to speak with the leader, the guard announced. The transparent wall shimmered and a door-shaped opening appeared. Come. Lisa stood up. Keep working, she whispered to her team. I'll try to learn more from the warden. As Lisa followed the guard down the glowing corridor, she felt a mix of fear and determination. Their plan had many risks, but they had found weaknesses in the perfect prison. Now she needed to buy them more time and perhaps gather additional information from Warden Zichtal. Behind her, the humans continued their preparations. The clock was ticking. They had less than 8 hours left before they would be separated, and their one chance at freedom would vanish. Lisa followed the Cracks guard through a series of gleaming corridors. The walls pulsed with the same strange energy she had seen in their cell. Other aliens watched her from behind transparent barriers as she passed. Some pressed against the walls, with looks that might have been curiosity or hope. Finally, they reached a large circular room. Warden Zichtal stood before a wall of floating screens showing different areas of the prison. When he noticed Lisa, the screens vanished. Commander Wright, the warden said. I hope your accommodations are satisfactory. We'd prefer not being prisoners, Lisa replied calmly. The warden's skin rippled in what she was beginning to recognize as their version of a laugh. Most would. Yet you seem unusually calm for someone facing indefinite confinement. Lisa shrugged. Humans adapt quickly. It's one of our traits, indeed. The warden moved closer, studying her face. That is precisely what makes your species so interesting. Other new prisoners rage or fall into despair. Your group immediately began examining your surroundings and talking quietly among yourselves. Lisa said nothing, not wanting to reveal anything about their plans. I've been reviewing your records, the warden continued. Your ship was on a diplomatic mission, yet your team includes specialists in multiple fields. Why would a simple diplomatic vessel need such diverse expertise? Earth Alliance policy, Lisa answered. All ships maintain well-rounded crews to handle unexpected situations, always preparing for the unexpected. The warden's eyes narrowed. This confirms our assessment that humans represent an unpredictable element in galactic affairs. Lisa decided to try a different approach. You seem to value knowledge and predictability, Warden. Have you considered that unpredictability can lead to innovation? Many scientific breakthroughs come from unexpected places. The warden paused, seeming genuinely interested. An intriguing perspective, would you elaborate? Lisa saw an opportunity. The more she kept the warden talking, the more time her team had to work on their escape plan. She began discussing human philosophy and scientific history, watching as the warden became increasingly engaged in the conversation. The concept of freedom itself, Lisa explained, is central to human innovation. When minds are free to explore possibilities without constraints, they often find solutions that rigid thinking misses. Yet freedom without order leads to chaos, the warden countered. Not necessarily, Lisa argued. Complex systems can self-organize. Freedom and order aren't opposites. They're partners in a dance. As they debated, Lisa noticed something interesting. When the warden became deeply engaged in their philosophical discussion, the lights in the room dimmed slightly. She remembered Alan saying the prison systems were connected to the cracks themselves somehow. Was the warden's focus affecting the prison's energy distribution? Meanwhile, back in the cell, the team worked frantically. Alan had finished his probability lens device using parts from their food dispensers and pieces of the light fixtures he'd carefully removed. It's crude, he told the others, but it might work. When activated, it should amplify the effect our consciousness has on quantum states. Steve had reprogrammed their translator pins to emit specific frequencies. These should create interference with their psychic dampening field. I noticed it when I was analyzing their communication patterns. They use a field to prevent telepathic species from communicating. Maria continued communicating with the Volari through light signals. The crystalline beings had agreed to help create a distraction at the perfect moment. They can generate a light pulse so bright it will temporarily overload the crack's visual systems, Maria explained, but they can only do it once before they need to recharge. Karen had been watching the guard rotations closely. The cracks operate on a rigid schedule. Every 40 minutes, the guards change positions. There's a 20-second gap when the corridor to Section B is unwatched. Doug studied the rough map they'd created of the visible parts of the prison. If we time everything perfectly, we might make it to the hangar, but we'll need Lisa back, here soon. In the warden's office, Lisa continued her philosophical debate. She had carefully steered the conversation toward the nature of imprisonment and freedom. Interesting that you call this facility unbreakable, Lisa said. In human thinking, absolutes rarely exist. We tend to see possibilities where others see certainties. A dangerous perspective, the warden replied. But fascinating. Your species views barriers as challenges rather than accepting them as reality. Exactly, Lisa nodded. We don't recognize impossible until after we've done it. The warden's skin shifted to a deep blue color. Your time is nearly up, Commander. You will be returned to your cell for the remaining hours before separation. As Lisa was escorted back, she noticed more about the prison's layout. The guard leading her took a different route, revealing new corridors and security checkpoints. She memorized everything she saw, knowing it could be crucial to their escape. When she returned to the cell, her team gathered around her eagerly. What did you learn? Doug asked. Lisa quickly shared her observations about the prison layout and her theory about the warden's connection to the prison systems. I think when the warden is distracted, it creates small disruptions in the prison's energy grid. We might be able to use that. Alan's eyes lit up. That explains the fluctuations I've been seeing in the quantum lock. The system isn't purely mechanical. It's partially tied to Crack's consciousness. How much time do we have left? Lisa asked. Just under 4 hours before they separate us, Karen answered. Lisa nodded. Then let's finalize our plan. Maria, are the Volari ready? Yes. They'll create their light burst on our signal. Good. Steve, how about the communication system hack? Steve held up his modified translator pin. Ready. I can send conflicting commands to different sectors of the prison. It should create about 90 seconds of confusion. Perfect. Alan, the probability lens? Alan held up a small device made from bits of metal and circuitry. It's as ready as it can be, but we'll only get one chance to use it. Doug, the escape route? Doug pointed to their rough map. Based on what we've seen and what you've told us, I think this is our best path to the hangar. We'll have about 3 minutes before they lock down the whole facility. And Karen, the light amplifiers? Karen showed Lisa the modified pieces of their uniforms. Ready? We can use these to focus the Volari's light burst, making it even more effective against the cracks. Lisa looked at her team with pride. In less than 20 hours, they had analyzed an alien prison, identified its weaknesses, made allies, built tools, and created an escape plan. Let's go over everything one more time, she said. The timing has to be perfect. As they reviewed their plan, the lights in the corridor dimmed slightly. The prison was entering its rest cycle, the perfect time for their escape attempt. Lisa, check the time. 3 hours until they separate us. Let's show these cracks why humans have a reputation for doing the impossible. Their plan was risky, with dozens of ways it could fail. But as they gathered in a circle, each human knew they would rather try the impossible than accept defeat. The first phase of their escape was about to begin. The prison's rest cycle had begun. The lights in the corridors dimmed to a soft purple glow. Fewer guards patrolled the hallways. Lisa and her team gathered near the transparent wall of their cell, ready to put their plan into action. "Everyone, remember your part?" Lisa asked quietly. They all nodded. Each person knew exactly what to do and when to do it. Their lives depended on perfect timing. "Maria, signal the Volari that we're ready," Lisa said. Maria moved to the transparent wall and used the light amplifier Karen had made from their uniform fabric. She created a pattern of quick flashes toward the crystal beings in the cell across from theirs. The Volari responded with a gentle pulse of blue light. They understood and were ready. "Now we wait for the guard rotation," Lisa said, checking the time. 3 minutes until the next shift change. Steve positioned himself near the cell's control panel, holding his modified translator pin. Alan stood beside him with the probability lens device. Karen and Doug prepared to move quickly once the cell opened. Maria stayed near the wall to coordinate with the Volari. Lisa took a deep breath. "In exactly 2 minutes, I'm going to engage the warden in conversation through the cell's communication system. Remember what I told you? When he gets intellectually engaged, the prison systems experience minor fluctuations." 2 minutes later, Lisa pressed the communication button on their cell wall. After a moment, Warden Zikital's voice came through. "Commander, right? I did not expect further communication before your separation. I've been thinking about our earlier conversation on freedom and determinism," Lisa said, her voice calm and thoughtful. "There's an aspect we didn't explore fully." There was a pause before the warden responded. "Indeed? What aspect is that?" As Lisa launched into a complex philosophical argument, she watched the energy indicators on their cell wall. Just as she had noticed earlier, the lights dimmed slightly as the warden became engaged in the intellectual debate. "Now," Lisa whispered to Alan. Alan activated his probability lens, pointing it at the quantum lock. The strange device hummed softly, emitting a faint blue glow. At the same time, Steve used his modified translator pin to send conflicting commands to the prison security systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the quantum lock flickered. "It's working," Alan whispered. "Keep talking to him, Lisa." Lisa continued her philosophical discussion with the warden, challenging his views on predictability and chaos. As she drew him deeper into the debate, the energy fluctuations in the cell increased. The guard rotation began exactly as Karen had predicted. The corridor outside their cell was momentarily empty. "Maria, now," Lisa called. Maria signaled the Volari with one bright flash. Across the corridor, the crystal beings began to glow, their bodies pulsing with increasing intensity. Within seconds, they released a blinding burst of light that flooded the entire section. Alarms blared throughout the prison. The quantum lock on their cell flickered more rapidly as the security systems diverted power to deal with the unexpected light surge. "Alan, full power!" Lisa shouted over the alarms. Alan pushed his device to its limit. The probability lens began to shake in his hands, growing hot. The quantum lock destabilized completely, creating an opening in the transparent wall. "Go," Lisa commanded. Doug went first, squeezing through the opening and checking the corridor. Karen followed, then Maria, Steve, and Alan with his device. Lisa went last, just as the alarms changed to a higher pitch. "They know we're out," Doug said. 3 minutes until full lockdown. The 6 humans raced down the dimly lit corridor, following the escape route Doug had memorized. They encountered 2 stunned Cracks guards, still partially blinded by the Volari's light burst. Karen used her medical knowledge to quickly locate pressure points on the Cracks' anatomy, rendering them unconscious with precise strikes. "This way," Doug said, leading them down a side passage. "The hangar should be through here." As they ran, Steve continued using his modified translator pin to send conflicting commands to different sectors of the prison, causing security doors to open and close randomly throughout the facility. "Wait," Lisa said, stopping suddenly. "We need to get the Volari out too, we promised." Maria nodded. "Their cell is controlled by the same type of quantum lock. Alan, can your device work once more?" Alan looked at the smoking probability lens in his hands. Maybe, but it might burn out completely after that. We keep our promises, Lisa said firmly. Let's go get them. They backtracked to the Valeri cell. Alan's device sputtered as he aimed it at the lock, but after 10 seconds, the transparent wall flickered and opened. The 5 crystal beings floated out, their bodies glowing with gratitude. 2 minutes left, Doug warned. We need to move fast. The now larger group continued toward the hangar bay. They encountered more resistance as they went deeper into the prison. Alarms blaring, security systems activating, and more guards responding. "Through here," Doug shouted, pointing to a large door at the end of a corridor. Steve used his translator, pin one last time, sending a command that overrode the door's security. It slid open to reveal a vast hangar filled with Crax vessels of various sizes. "We need something small and fast," Alan said, scanning the ships. "There, that scout vessel near the exit port." They raced toward the small ship, the Valeri floating. Alongside them, behind them, they heard the heavy footsteps of Crax security forces closing in. 1 minute until full lockdown, Karen warned, checking a nearby display panel. When they reached the scout vessel, Alan quickly examined the entry mechanism. It's biometrically locked to Crax physiology. Lisa looked around desperately. "Can you override it?" Alan shook his head. "Not without—" He was interrupted by one of the Valeri floating forward. The crystal being positioned itself over the lock and began to glow brightly, changing colors rapidly. After a few seconds, the ship's entry hatch slid open. They can mimic energy patterns, Maria realized, including Crax biometric signatures. "Everyone inside now," Lisa ordered. They piled into the small ship, humans and Valeri together. Alan went straight to the control panel, studying it intently. "Can you fly this thing?" Steve asked, joining him. "I think so," Alan replied. "The interface is alien but logical. Help me with the translation." As Alan and Steve worked to understand the ship's controls, Doug monitored the hangar bay doors. 30 seconds until lockdown. They're sealing all exits. Karen helped the Valeri secure themselves in the strange seats while Maria tried to communicate with them about what was happening. "Got it," Alan exclaimed. "I understand the propulsion system. It uses the gravity well of the neutron star for acceleration, rather than fighting against it." "Clever," Steve said, "using the very thing that keeps prisoners trapped as a means of escape." Lisa moved to the front of the ship. "Can we launch?" Alan nodded, his hands moving across the alien controls. "Hold on to something. This won't be smooth." The scout vessel hummed to life, its systems responding to Alan's commands. Outside, they could see Crax security forces flooding into the hangar bay, weapons raised. 15 seconds, Doug shouted. Alan activated the launch sequence. The ship rose shakily from the hangar floor and turned toward the exit port. "Full power," Lisa commanded. Alan pushed the controls forward. The scout vessel shot toward the closing hangar doors, accelerating rapidly. "We're not going to make it," Karen said, looking at the narrowing gap. "Yes, we will," Lisa replied with absolute certainty. The hangar doors continued to close as the ship hurtled toward them. The humans held their breath. The Valeri glowed brighter in what might have been their version of fear or excitement. With only inches to spare, the scout vessel squeezed through the gap and burst out into open space, the neutron star's swirling energy immediately pulling them into its gravitational dance. The small scout vessel shuddered as it was caught in the neutron star's powerful gravity. Warning lights flashed across the alien control panel. Inside, the humans and Valeri struggled to stay in their seats as the ship spun wildly. "Alan, get stabilized," Lisa shouted over the blaring alarms. Alan's fingers moved quickly over the strange controls. "I'm trying. The gravity is too strong." Steve pointed to a section of the panel that was glowing brighter than the rest. "Try that system there. I think it's their gravity manipulation technology." Alan pressed the indicated controls. Slowly, the ship stopped spinning. The violent shaking reduced to a gentle vibration. "It worked," Alan said, his voice filled with relief. "But we're still caught in the gravity well. We can't break free using conventional thrust." One of the Valeri floated forward, its crystalline body flashing with patterns of light. Maria watched carefully, then turned to the others. "They're trying to tell us something about the ship's systems," she said. "I think they know how these vessels work." The Volari touched the control panel with a crystal appendage. A hidden section of controls lit up, revealing a new set of instruments. "What is that?" Doug asked, leaning forward. Alan studied the new controls with growing excitement. "It's some kind of gravitational slingshot system. They don't fight against the neutron star's gravity. They use it to catapult themselves away." With the Volari guiding him, Alan activated the new system. The ship stopped trying to pull away from the neutron star and instead moved into a carefully calculated trajectory around it. "Hold on tight," Alan warned. "This is going to be intense." The scout vessel swung around the neutron star in a tight arc, building incredible speed. The humans were pressed back into their seats by the force. The Volari glowed brighter as their crystalline bodies vibrated with the acceleration. "Multiple ships launching from Helixis 9, Doug reported, watching, a display showing the space behind them. "They're in pursuit." Lisa looked at Alan. "How much longer until we can break free?" 30 seconds to optimal slingshot position," Alan replied. "Then we'll be flung clear of the gravity well with more speed than they can match." Karen was monitoring life support systems. "The hull temperature is rising quickly. I don't know if this ship was designed for this kind of maneuver." "We'll make it," Lisa said firmly. "We've come too far to fail now." As they swung around the neutron star's blinding light, a communication signal suddenly broke through their system. Warden Zika Tall's voice filled the cabin. "Commander Wright, you are attempting the impossible. No ship has ever escaped the gravity well at such proximity. Return to Helixis 9 immediately or face certain destruction." Lisa activated the communication system. "Sorry, Warden. Humans have a saying. Impossible just means no one's done it yet." "Slingshot position in 10 seconds, Alan announced. "Everyone brace yourselves." The pursuing Crack's ships were closing in, but they maintained a safer distance from the neutron star's deadly pull. 5 seconds, Alan called out. 4, 3, 2, 1. Alan activated the gravitational slingshot system at precisely the right moment. The scout vessel lurched violently as it was catapulted away from the neutron star with tremendous force. The pursuing ships quickly fell behind, unable to match their sudden acceleration. "It worked," Steve exclaimed, watching the sensor display, as they shot away from Helixis 9 and its deadly guardian star. "They can't catch us now." The cabin filled with cheers. The Volari pulsed with bright colors that seemed to express joy. For a moment, they all celebrated their impossible escape. Then Lisa brought them back to the task at hand. "We're not safe. Yet," she reminded them. "Where can we go from here? We're in unfamiliar space in a stolen alien vessel." Maria had been communicating with the Volari. "They say they know of a neutral trading outpost 3 light jumps from here. The Cracks avoid it because they consider the inhabitants too unpredictable." "Sounds perfect for us," Lisa said with a smile. "Can they guide us there?" Maria nodded. "They're willing to show us the way if we take them with us. Their home system is in the same direction." "Of course we'll take them," Lisa said. "They're the reason we made it this far." Alan set the course according to the Volari's guidance. The ship's jump drive hummed as it prepared for faster-than-light travel. On the sensors, they could see the Crack ship still in pursuit but falling farther behind with each passing moment. "Jump. Drive ready," Alan reported. "On your command, Lisa." "Take us out of here," Lisa ordered. The stars outside stretched into long lines as the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. The prison, the neutron star, and the pursuing Crack ships vanished behind them. Hours later, after making all 3 jumps safely, they approached the trading outpost. It was a bustling space station built into a small asteroid, filled with ships from dozens of different species. "We should be safe here," Maria said. "According to the Volari, the Cracks don't have much influence in this sector." "What do we do now?" Karen asked. "We're still far from Earth." "We find a way to contact Earth Alliance," Lisa said. Let them know what happened and warn them about the cracks. And then we find a way home. As they docked at the trading station, Lisa received one final communication from Helixus 9. It was Warden Ziektal again. Commander Wright, you have accomplished what we thought impossible. In 3,000 years, no one has ever escaped Helixus 9. I am curious. How did you do it? Lisa smiled as she replied. It's simple, Warden. You designed your perfect prison for beings who accept limitations. Humans don't. When we see walls, we look for windows. When we see locks, we look for keys. And when someone tells us something is impossible, we take it as a challenge. There was a long pause before the warden responded. A fascinating perspective. The Cracks Directorate will need to reevaluate our assessment of your species. I suggest. You do that, Lisa said, and I suggest you leave Earth alone. Because what 6 humans accomplished in one day, imagine what billions of us can do if provoked. The communication ended. Lisa looked around at her team and their new Volari allies. Together, they had done the impossible. They had escaped an unbreakable alien prison in just one day. As they stepped onto the trading station ready to begin their journey home, Lisa knew this adventure would become a legend. A story of human ingenuity, determination, and the unbreakable human spirit that could break even the most perfect prison. Back at Helixus 9, Warden Ziektal made a new entry in the facility's 3,000-year record. Security warning. Humans do not recognize impossible as a limitation. Approach with extreme caution.